think that why now question is something I really spent a lot of time thinking about. And I'd say as I think about product and assessing product, you know, I talked about the DuckDuckGoose growth in terms of number of downloads. What I haven't talked about and what I can't share publicly is the massive engagement that they see. That's what I personally care the most about. Is I think there's a lot of products that see massive growth through viral channels or paid marketing, and then they crash because the underlying product doesn't have richness to it. And I think the DuckDuckGoose products have real richness that reflects itself in the engagement. So how frequently are users coming back? How much are they? How much time are they spending per session? All of those kinds of things. That's something I spend a lot of time personally looking for as an investor. So what's next? I really wish I knew. But I think, you know, up here there's a lot of we've got Google Glass, obviously wearable devices, Keats Focus PCs. I think there's a lot of talk about a lot of those segments. I'm actually looking closely at a company in one of those segments right now. I think the other area that's personally really interesting to me that I'm surprised I haven't seen yet is, I look back 5 or 6 years ago at the success of Club Penguin. And the fact that they got, you know, they had 700,000 subscribers on a PC-focused world, paying, I think it was $5 or $6 a month. The company got bought for, it was supposed to be $700 million by Disney, but they never actually earned the $350 million earnout. But they saw incredible engagement, again, on a PC, which has historically had a really hard time getting children to interact with it. And so I've been surprised that I have not yet seen, and Club Penguin, by the way, has done nothing with that product since they got acquired in 2007. So I've been really surprised that I have not seen more innovation around a Club Penguin type experience that's mobile-centric. You know, iPad-centric, maybe iPhone-centric, but certainly iPad-centric. So I think the form factor is better fitted to something like that. And that's an area where I personally would love to see something and invest behind. Because I think the subscription model has a lot of legs in this space. I think that the Club Penguin model is a proven model from years ago that people will pay. And again, that's been a product that's been totally neglected since Disney acquired it in 2007. So that's something that if any of you are starting a company in that space, please let me know. So that is it for me. Happy to answer any questions for a fair amount.
It's a challenging question, but if you were approached or you found that prior to their amount of downloads, you'd have had the same foresight as that, or was that a primary variable that you were leaning on?
No, I you know, it's self-serving, but I would have. And the reason I say that is I had actually been proactively looking in the space for almost a year around some of the themes that I talked about. And the number of downloads was certainly an impressive metric that they shared. But I will tell you, you know, I talked about it much more as I thought about pitching into my partnership. It was much more to me around both the team and the quality of the product, and that's reflected in kind of two different ways. One is these reviews, which were public, right, on the App Store, and if you read, I read probably hundreds of them across the different games they had, like, you could see that there was real magic in the product. And I think that is always a leading indicator for growth in these things. So if you've got the addressable market in terms of number of people that might play with the product, and the people that are using it love it, that's always a great leading indicator. So that, and then the engagement as well. There was some early signal that they had very strong engagement in their apps. But I'd say particularly the team and the product reviews and the way that people were using and engaging with the app were for me the much more important metric than 3 million downloads. Candidly, I had looked at other companies that were in a very similar position, a little bit lower, but at the time I didn't know about DuckDuckGoose. Similar position in terms of number of downloads that I passed on. I passed on every other company in the space. And the reason I did it was because that same level of magic in the product, user reviews, stickiness was not the case in those other companies.
Just now, wondering if you've looked at the companies that are intersecting between the real physical product, subscription-based physical product, and digital product.
Physical product and, sorry, say that again.
Physical and digital, toys, entertainment that are physical, like subscription-based products. Like the Kiwi Crates of the world, the Six Slam.
I know Kiwi, I know Sandra Lowe. Yes, yeah, the answer is yes. Yeah, I have. I think that, you know, physical product, generally e-commerce companies, I'm more bearish on. I think they're hard businesses to scale. You don't get paid from returns perspective. They trade at 1.5, 2 times revenue as opposed to marketplace, which trade at like 10, 15 times. So like, I don't get as excited about the I love Sandra. I think she's great. She's a classmate of mine in business school, but I don't personally get as excited about those businesses as certainly as DuckDuckGoose or companies in the more virtual space. Largely because like the COGS can be very different as well, and the scalability can be much different.
So in your talk, you mentioned how engaging the DuckDuckGoose apps are, which you couldn't share the data. This is one of my pet things. There's loads of companies in this room who have no idea what anybody else does for a number of minutes or hours per week. So perhaps not sharing DuckDuckGoose, but for iPad apps in general, you must have looked at a million. If a company can't get X hours per week or this number of repeat visits, they get thrown into the other pile for you. I mean, just because a lot of people here would like to hear that about other companies.
Yeah, I mean, it is hard to it is hard to quote a specific metric, and I know that I'm not trying to punt on the question, but no, I don't mean, I'm not saying I'm not going to quote DuckDuckGoose metrics, but I mean it's hard to say what the specific success metric is, and the reason I say that is it's very different for a game than it is for flashcards. It's very different for a 2-year-old than a 6-year-old than a 10-year-old than an adult. It's very different for multiplayer. I mean, it's so different.
On that, 12 to 12, something that's interactive on the iPad that is either a game or some interactive experience. Does that make it narrow?
Well, I mean, that's so 2 to 12 is a very. Why don't I talk to you offline? Because I can give you some feedback on your specific. If you're at a company, I'm happy to give you. But even 2 to 12, like the attention span for a 2-year-old is so massively different than for a 12-year-old. And so what you generally see is for 2-year-olds, much shorter time periods, much more frequent usage. Versus 12-year-olds, more extended, less frequent. But that's like a very broad answer. I'm happy to take it offline. Tons of room. So I'm not going to talk to their specific metric. I wouldn't do it anyway, but they also happen to be in the room. So I'm not going to talk to it. But I will say, in terms of opportunity, I think there's massive opportunity. I mean, I think this market is still super early on in terms of its penetration. I mean, I think for a couple of reasons. First of all, I think the App Store is still kind of a train wreck in this space. Like the discovery piece, I think very few companies, I think DuckDuckGoose is one, to build brand. I think there's still little awareness of the value that you can get for small dollars in these kinds of apps and how they compare to much more expensive leapfrog modules. So I think it is so early. I think there's massive opportunity. I think it's still very early on in the life cycle for this space. And I think there's a lot of opportunity internationally. All the trends that I talked about are very applicable internationally as well. Most first world countries.
What would you say the market opportunities for Common Core penetration with school kids, or I guess pre-K to whatever kindergarten? Your that their Beckett Bruce's age range, what would you say market strategies to get into that common core opportunity?
Well, I mean, I can't really talk, like, I can't really talk about the company's strategy around addressing, and my strategy, like, our strategies tend to align pretty closely, so, like, we work together pretty closely, so I can't really speak to that, sorry. Do you have any more?
I was surprised to see you invest because usually VCs look for 10x return. And in the kids space, we're not flash of finance. We don't have like it's very hard to build, very high lifetime value. But how comes you see that you can do a nice great valuation in the kids space? I'm curious to hear more about that.
Well, look at Leapfrog. Leapfrog is, I don't know where it is, we're looking at Caldbeck, which is a $600 or $700 million company. That's a low margin hardware business that has, like I said, fewer installed devices than iPads and iPhones are shipped. That iPads are shipped every quarter. You've got their yearly revenue per customer from a module standpoint was something like in the $100 range. Like parents spend a lot of money, and they will spend a lot of money on educating and entertaining their kids, and they've already got their devices. These devices in their home. So as I think about addressing the market, I agree with you, there have not been that many kids companies in the past that have been built that are big businesses. But I think the reason is because these hardware devices that a 4-year-old does not want to go sit in front of a PC and do this. That's not how they interact. But give a 4-year-old an iPad or an iPhone and give them a couple of the Duck News apps, and they will be on it for a long time if they are all representative of the average Duck News customer. And so, if you can get that engagement, you've already got a built-in go-to-market. You've got the devices in the home. If you can build a brand around being the trusted place that parents go for apps that they will both entertain their kids and offer some educational value, Leapfrog to me is the minimum of what Duck News could be. I see a much bigger opportunity, to extract value or to build value from a company like Duck News than Leapfrog. Like, I would be short Leapfrog all day long, personally, and not just because of my investment in Duck News.
Talk a lot about the opportunities and potential in that market. I'm curious about the challenges.
Say again, sorry.
You've already discussed the opportunities and potential in the market. How about the challenges and how you're addressing those?
I don't think there are any challenges. Okay. I think the challenging thing about the kid space, I think at a high level, is that oftentimes you have a different buyer than a user, and so the marketing around getting a parent to download, the child is not the one, for regulatory reasons and others, the child is not the one that has control over the phone. So you've got a little bit of a two-step selling process, right? And so I think that is a challenge for everyone in the space. I think that one of the things that got me excited about Duck News's ability to mitigate that is that parents talk. And they talk a lot about what they're buying for their kids. And so if you've got to start with a great product. Like, you have to build a great product that people want to talk about and share. But I think that it makes paid marketing more challenging in terms of driving accelerated growth. And I think that's something that we are I think doing some really good thinking about and experimenting with some good things. I think I would argue kind of thought leaders in the space around it. But I think that as I think about what are the most challenging elements of the kids' edutainment space, I think that's one. And then I also think, to his point earlier, I think making sure that you can just kind of continue to increase the lifetime value of parents, is given that kind of friction is important as well. But I think, again, that's where if they touch the product once, it's really getting them to touch it once. Because if they touch it once, they love it, and they buy again and again and again, and they use it again and again. Does that answer your question? I think that's it.